played a very important role in the lives of these communities. The residents of these people here on the east end of Oakland inhabited all these homes. Here we see a 7600 Malley moving east, a freight train moving eastbound at Altamont Bridge. These photographs were taken in 1950. All steam engines were replaced by diesel locomotives in 1950. This is one of the last shots of the steam engines at the top of the 17-mile grade. I took these from the bridge at Altamont. This is one of the beautiful trains which was called the Cincinnatian, or affectionately known as the Blue Goose. And this was one of the last trips of the Cincinnatian as a steam engine. I hate to see the steam engines go, and we certainly did enjoy listening to the whistle of the trains back in those days. This is a picture down through Swanton showing the second school. The second school was the one where my dad attended, and of course we see United Brethren Church, and of course I pointed out the building where the service station was, where Bob Reckner and a number of others lived there. Getty O'Brien and Ed Bray and various people lived in the place beside of it. But here we see right in the foreground one of the first buses that transported the students. I believe this was driven by Ted Wright at the time. It's a box-like bus, as you see. And this is school number 2. Had a heavy snow this winter. This is a picture of the third school, or the present school, which is now the community building. But this 2-room school was built of brick and concrete around 1926. The photo was taken in the 1930s. Walter Friend family lived on the hill back of the school. And here we see one of the outbuildings. His house was just to the top of the roof where you cannot see it, but this is one of the outbuildings where Walter. This is a picture of my sister Luella Friend and me when I think it was 1929. This was a picture taken when I started the school. I think it was 1935, 36. Here we have a picture of Maxine and Lionel and Dick Schweitzer, taken in 1937 and 38. With the help of some of our classmates and folks who went to the school down there, we're going to try to identify the people in this picture, taken in 1937. This is Geraldine Wagner, the first young lady, Charlene Stein, Agnes Wright, Lorene Wright. This is Hugh Bateman, Billy Otto, Lionel Schweitzer. In the center of the picture, Burton Rex Road, and Jim Friend, Audrey's brother, Jim, and Bobby Wright. We go to the next row, Neil Moon, Richard Lohman, Herbert Groves, Mary Alice Schweitzer. She's in the back row, but she's standing beside Herb. This is Mary Stein Stover, Mary Elizabeth Stein, and Dick Schweitzer in the center, and Elaine Jenkins standing right back of him. And in the front row, Elwood Bray, and standing behind Elwood is Claire Alice Schweitzer. Next we have Howard Friend, Ronald Friend, and Sherman Friend. We go to the complete back row now, after we pass this. Sherman Ron. Here we have Daphne Weiss, Loretta Teets. We see Herbert again, Herbert Groves. Mary Alice Schweitzer. Back row, James Friend. Robert Simons. Wilmer Friend. Betty Parrish. And Marguerite Otto. This was the school kids in 1937-38. Swanton School. We'll see some more of them. Okay, we'll identify this group. This is Jim Lee on the left, Robert Simons, Alvin Friend, Maxine Schweitzer, Amy Jane Friend, Betty Lou Lee, Nina Wagner, Jimmy Rhodes, Hugh Friend, Thomas Beckman, Richard Reckner, Eloise Reckner, Hazel Baker, Marie Schweitzer, next to Hazel in a moment, Marie Schweitzer, and Mary Bateman. In the last row back we have Minnie Bolliard, Dorothy Brown, Geraldine Wagner, Leota Bray, Johnny Glass, and Miss Mary Lee Wells, who was the teacher and the principal at this time, and Daisy Bolliard, Morris Moon, standing between Daisy and Eloise Reckner. And we have Jimmy Lohr, Gerald Groves, Eldon Landis, Hallie Bernard in the back row, and Elwood Bevins. This was the class in 1937-38. Served as janitor of the school during the war years back in 1940 and 41 and around that area, around that time. This is a picture of Flota Parrish. I believe it's Iva May and David. 1940s, in the 1940s. This is the year that I graduated from grade school, or the year after. This is a picture of Amy and Huey Friend, my cousins, first cousins, and then my brother Ron, and Bobby Wright, and myself on our bicycles. See Mr. Ralph Friend when he was 1 year old in 1941. In front of the school here we see Jimmy Rhodes on the bicycle and Richard Reckner and Thomas Beckman. 1943. One thing we used to do is ride on the bobsleds, and that was sled riding parties on Lee's Hill and on Ashenfelder's Lane were very common. We had a lot of fun. We could pile on 8 or 10 kids on the bobsled and just come rolling off the hillside down Ashenfelder's Lane, and we rode on Lee's Hill also, Johnson's Hill, whatever you want to call it, Lee's and Johnson's Hill. This is a beautiful picture of Kemp's grandmother, Mrs. Della Rhodes, and Patty's grandmother, Patty Schaefer's grandmother, 1941. We have Kemp, Grandma Rhodes, and Patty. This picture was taken in 1943 down at Elsie and Arthur's house. Here we have the Ashenfelder boy, Sammy Ashenfelder, Jim Baker, Harold Green. I can't identify the one clear down. This is my father sitting at the end of the table, Lemuel Friend, Lester Schweitzer, and I believe this was Mrs. Trail, a friend of Elsie's. And then in the immediate foreground is Howard Roth, and of course Arthur Green. This was down at Elsie and Arthur's home, which was always open to the young people. This is Tommy Stickley during World War II. His pup tent, got his rifle. I believe this was taken overseas. This is a picture of Llewellyn and Jim when they got married in 1944. Jim was home on leave, and they got married, and Jim left for the Pacific right after this. He was stationed on Guam. This is their wedding picture in May of 1944. Navy medic during World War II. The Swanton Sunday School in the fall of 1944. And I'm going to try to identify him. This is Jim Friend, Tinker Fisher, and Robert Parrish on the left. Tinker Fisher, Jim Friend, Caroline Rhodes, Mary Wright, Shirley Wright, Arvita Friend, Helen Wright, Nancy Wright.